Hey everybody. Happy Wednesday. It is time for the third read aloud this week. This has been a really special and meaningful week to me as I have been rolling out bit by bit the title and little pieces of the cover of my newest book, which comes out on April 21st. I have given you the words. Monday, I gave you fierce. Tuesday, I gave you free. This morning, I gave you full of fire. Turns out we do have some F's to give. And I had a comment from one of you that I loved, and I responded to it because you said something like, hey, Jen, what if I don't want to be full of fire? And what if I just want to sit on the couch and watch Netflix? Do I still belong? Am I still loved? And first of all, I don't know if you saw my earlier post today, but I watched 6 hours of Cheer on Netflix with my sister last night until midnight, the whole season. So excuse me, I literally wrote the book and I watched Netflix for a good third of the day yesterday. So yes, you belong. And it just makes me want to say this before I read this to you. This is not just a book for women with huge personalities, even though the title is super strong, because strength comes in all kinds of packages. Fire is sometimes really quiet, and yet it still burns, right? Strength is sometimes really gentle, and yet it still changes the world. So you come to this however you are. I have a whole chapter about this, that your volume and your space, that is yours. There is no one way to be a strong woman. Okay, so yes, this is for you too. Now, when it comes to being full of fire, I think this applies to a ton of areas in our life, and I write about all those, but one of the areas where I found fire just coursing through my veins was in faith. I have a whole section on what do we believe. By the way, this is not an autobiography, autobiography. This is not a memoir. This book is really for you. I talk about my journey. I talk about my experiences, but this book is for you. So what do we believe? One of the chapters is called I Believe in Spiritual Curiosity. Sounds simple, right? I want to read you this section from that chapter. And I want to say, listener, be warned. It's a deal. I didn't hold back here, okay? In any of the book, the whole thing. It is all, I told you, I'm telling the truth now, and that means I'm telling the whole truth. So this is some strong medicine, but I want you to know what you're getting into. So this is about my personal process of starting to ask new questions of the faith that I was handed as a kid. Okay, here we go. As a thinking adult with permission to question systems, I finally asked, where are the women? What about people of color? Tell me again why only men are in charge? Wait, so Catholics aren't Christians because why again? Why did so many leaders who fixated on our teen virginity end up in affairs, in sexual abuse scandals, covering up for one another? Can someone explain all these victims besides blaming their obvious promiscuity and kicking them out of their churches? Why is it Democrats are ruining the country? Explain how science is fake and the Bible is real? Why is Oprah a wolf in sheep's clothing again? I never believed it. Why couldn't we watch Scooby-Doo? So the Southern Baptist Convention didn't offer a formal apology for its support of slavery and segregation until 1995. So after 150 years of theological formation around the protection of white supremacy, are there any other interpretations that should be re-examined, or was it just that one? In the wake of all my questions, some of the beliefs I'd simply accepted for so long were challenged because upon a more critical evaluation, they were the byproduct of an obviously corrupt system, which has been historically dead last to the table of confession and repentance. Some of my beliefs were challenged because the same people were always in charge, and we blithely hung pictures of white Jesus in our Sunday school rooms. Some of my beliefs were challenged because while promising life abundant, they instead broke the hearts and trust of many outliers with a clear conscience. Some of my beliefs were challenged because had I held to them as dictated, I would have no ministry, no authority, no agency over my own God-given gifts. Some of my beliefs were challenged because the missionary culture I grew up in often turned out to be a form of colonization. Some of my beliefs were challenged because they shamed girls and victims, but protected men and abusers. Some of my beliefs were challenged because they too often failed to care for LGBTQ people and instead led to traumatic conversion therapy, forced celibacy, public humiliation, and ultimately suicide at 7 times the normal rate. Some of my beliefs were challenged because they weren't producing many disciples. Mostly just gatekeepers and defectors. Some of them felt bad in my soul, damaging in my practices, harmful to my brothers and sisters, a betrayal of the Spirit of God. More where that came from. If you have questions, if you are pressing on the forms of your faith, look, you just joined basically every generation of serious Christians before you. That's called growth. That's called maturity. We surely should not be practicing our faith the same way we were 20 years ago, right? We're going to go all in on this one, you guys. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to bring in the whole thing, the whole title, the whole cover. I'm going to tell you how it's organized. I'm going to bring you just a really cool way to get it. This is really exciting, and I'm so honored and grateful to share it with you. I love you so deeply. See you tomorrow.